On the morning of April 2, 2025, students from across Frisco, Texas, gathered at David Kuykendall Stadium for what was supposed to be a routine district track and field meet. The weather was far from ideal. Thunderstorms and heavy rain moved through the area, forcing athletes, coaches, and spectators to seek shelter under tents around the stadium. Among the students attending that day was 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Austin was a junior at Memorial High School. He was known as an outstanding student, maintaining an impressive GPA while also excelling in athletics. Friends described him as hardworking, respectful, and dedicated. He was an MVP linebacker on the football team, participated in track and field, worked part-time, and shared a close bond with his twin brother, Hunter. Like Austin, another student-athlete was attending the meet that morning. His name was Karmelo Sincere Anthony. Also 17 years old, Anthony attended Centennial High School. He was involved in both football and track, worked part-time jobs, and had no known criminal history. No one could have imagined that the paths of these two teenagers would cross in a way that would change countless lives forever. As the rain continued, athletes gathered under team tents to stay dry. At some point during the delay, Anthony entered a Memorial High School team tent. According to witness accounts, several students informed him that the tent was designated for Memorial athletes. Witnesses later testified that Anthony was asked multiple times to leave the area. Accounts differ regarding exactly how many times he was asked. What is clear is that a verbal disagreement followed. According to testimony and police reports, Anthony allegedly responded with words similar to, "Touch me and see what happens." Several witnesses stated that he appeared to be reaching toward or into his backpack during the exchange. The situation escalated rapidly. According to testimony, Austin Metcalf and others attempted to remove Anthony from the tent. At that point, Anthony pulled a folding knife from his backpack. Within seconds, Austin was stabbed once in the chest. The wound struck a critical area near his heart. What had started as a disagreement lasting only moments had suddenly become a life-or-death emergency. After being stabbed, Austin ran down the bleachers while clutching his chest. Witnesses watched in shock as he collapsed. His twin brother, Hunter, rushed to help him. Athletic trainers and emergency personnel quickly responded. CPR was performed as first responders fought to save his life. Despite their efforts, Austin remained unresponsive. He was transported to a hospital. At approximately 10:53 a.m., Austin Metcalf was pronounced dead. News of the tragedy spread rapidly. Meanwhile, authorities located Anthony nearby. According to police reports, he admitted to the stabbing. Investigators stated that Anthony told officers he had acted in self-defense. He reportedly said, "I was protecting myself." He also allegedly stated, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to." According to reports, Anthony appeared emotional after the incident and asked whether Austin would be okay. Investigators quickly began gathering evidence. Witnesses were interviewed. Surveillance footage was reviewed. More than 30 witnesses were eventually connected to the investigation. One important detail soon became clear. Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony had never met before that day. They were complete strangers. What occurred happened during a brief encounter lasting only minutes. The case immediately drew widespread attention across Texas and eventually the entire country. Questions emerged about school safety. Others focused on self-defense laws. Social media became flooded with opinions, speculation, and misinformation. As public attention grew, both families found themselves thrust into a spotlight they never asked for. Austin's family openly expressed their grief. His father, Jeff Metcalf, frequently spoke to the media about the devastating loss of his son. Austin's twin brother, Hunter, became one of the most emotional voices connected to the case. He described trying desperately to save his brother in those final moments. For the Metcalf family, life would never be the same. At the same time, Anthony's family faced intense public scrutiny. Reports surfaced of threats, harassment, and doxing directed at both families. Law enforcement agencies investigated various threats as tensions surrounding the case continued to grow. The legal process moved forward. Anthony was charged with first-degree murder. Initially, bond was set at $1 million. Later, a judge reduced the amount to $250,000 under strict conditions, including house arrest, electronic monitoring, and restrictions on social media use. In June 2025, a grand jury formally indicted Anthony. The case was set for trial. Jury selection began in June 2026. Hundreds of potential jurors were screened. The trial quickly became one of the most closely watched criminal cases in Texas. During the proceedings, prosecutors argued that Anthony had escalated the situation. They claimed that he introduced deadly force into what had been a verbal dispute and physical confrontation. The prosecution argued that the stabbing was unjustified and amounted to murder. Defense attorneys presented a different version of events. They argued that Anthony felt threatened and believed he was acting to protect himself. According to the defense, the chaotic environment, combined with the actions of others around him, caused Anthony to fear for his safety. Throughout the trial, jurors heard testimony from witnesses, law enforcement officers, and experts. Video evidence and 911 recordings were introduced. Witnesses sometimes disagreed about exactly what happened in the moments leading up to the stabbing. However, the central question remained the same. Was the stabbing an act of murder or an act of self-defense? Anthony did not testify during the trial. After hearing the evidence, jurors began deliberations. The decision came relatively quickly. After approximately 3 hours, the jury returned its verdict. Karmelo Anthony was found guilty of murder. The jury rejected arguments for lesser charges and rejected claims of sudden passion. The case then moved to sentencing. Under Texas law, Anthony faced a potential sentence ranging from several years to life imprisonment. After hearing additional testimony, jurors sentenced him to 35 years in prison. Because he was a juvenile at the time of the offense, the death penalty was not an option. Anthony became eligible for parole after serving a substantial portion of the sentence. Following the verdict, reactions poured in from across the country. For Austin Metcalf's family, the conviction brought a measure of accountability but could never undo the loss they suffered. For Anthony's family, the sentence marked the beginning of a new chapter as appeals were pursued. The tragedy sparked ongoing discussions about youth violence, conflict resolution, school safety, social media influence, and the consequences of decisions made in moments of anger. In the end, the Austin Metcalf case was not simply about a courtroom verdict. It was about 2 young men whose futures were forever altered during a brief encounter on a rainy morning. One teenager lost his life. Another lost his freedom. And 2 families were left to live with the consequences. What began as a high school track meet became one of the most widely discussed criminal cases in recent Texas history. A reminder of how quickly a single moment can change countless lives forever.